Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and Boris Johnson is definitely gone now. He's been gone for nearly half a year now, but it's been openly said in quarters that would not do so were it not actually inevitable and potentially quite soon. But as it hasn't actually happened yet, it begs the question, what exactly then is going to trigger his downfall and when will it happen? But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news in politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So I've said before, when trying to work out what exactly will finish Johnson off and when will it happen, you have to consider the curious logic of Conservative MPs. With a large majority, the Conservatives are under no pressure to call a general election, so removing Johnson is entirely a matter for them. So we're talking about the political decision-making of 359 Tory MPs, most of whom may not be good at political decision-making. Indeed, I don't believe they are. When Johnson's end comes, it will not be down to a sound, rational process, because I think that's already passed. When they do get rid of him, what reason a Tory MP is going to give that isn't a load of nonsense? There is nothing they can expect to know that they didn't know last December. Will they cite the fact that, well, he broke his own laws, we can't have a leader that breaks his own laws? They knew that last December. Never mind Sue Gray report or Met Police investigations, those things only happened because the cat was already out the bag. They knew last December. Will they cite his lying to Parliament? Oh, yeah, all right, these things is a bit not very serious, like a speeding ticket, really. But lying to Parliament, that's much more serious. Yeah, again, they knew that last December. Given that it was clear COVID laws had been broken during various lockdowns and Boris Johnson was telling Parliament that they had not, they knew he was lying. Will they play the party line that he cannot win the next election? They knew that last December as well. He lost North Shropshire, a seat that the Tories have held 100% of every single election since its creation 2 centuries ago. The Conservative Party have held a seat for longer than many nations have even existed, and Boris Johnson lost it spectacularly last December. There is nothing they know now or will know later that they did not in December. All they have with the passage of time is more documented proof of what was already proven beyond reasonable doubt. In fact, so obvious was it last December that Johnson had blown it and it was only a matter of time that the 1922 committee of backbench Tory MPs even said if any MPs wanted to submit letters of no confidence over the Christmas recess, which wouldn't normally be possible, they could do it via email and Sir Graham Brady, the committee chair, would contact them to verify it was actually them. They would not have done this unless they expected the facility to be needed. In the event, the threshold of letters was of course not reached. In fact, it seems doubtful that anywhere near the number of letters was actually reached. So my inference would be that senior members of the party concluded that that was the rational time to end Johnson's leadership, and therefore they said, well, if you want to do this, we'll put this facility in place. And they were probably as surprised as anyone that the wider parliamentary party did not behave rationally. They were trapped. They're still trapped. If there were an obvious successor, it would be easy. But there isn't. There are clearly more suitable leaders, clearly more suitable prime ministers, but not necessarily campaigners. And Tory MPs don't want to ditch Johnson for a better prime minister, only to be booted out of office 3 years later anyway due to a bad campaign. They've got no confidence in the ability of any potential successor to campaign on a populist platform as Johnson did. Did they really not think about this in advance? Did they not realise that Johnson was a one-use only campaigner and that his laziness would sink him in government? Apparently not. So they waited. Some were waiting for a champion to rise up and give them confidence that they could win over the people that Johnson did in 2019 and extend their stay in government. Some were waiting for Partygate to blow over. They just decided, well, Boris Johnson's the only one that can win these people over. Let's just wait for it to blow over. But that was stupid. Not only were they failing to appreciate the unique aspects of Partygate that would never allow it to just blow over. You're talking about people who couldn't be with their loved ones. They remember that a few years later. They were forgetting that Johnson was losing support amongst voters long before that. He lost another safe Tory seat last year, half a year earlier, before the Owen Paterson scandal, before Partygate, before the crushing rise in the cost of living, he was already losing core Conservative voters. December was the time to get rid of him. They would have had an instant bounce back in the polls. All the blame would be pinned on Boris Johnson. The wider Conservative Party would be credited with acting with integrity. Granted, they'd have to make sure not to replace him with an idiot like Dominic Raab or Liz Truss, but they had the chance to re-establish their lead in the polls. Bear in mind, Labour's lead is because they are a credible, inoffensive alternative to the failing Tories. It's not because you can go out onto the street and ask random passers-by, oh, which Labour policies are you most excited about? Because they'll go, I don't really. Their main policy is that they're not the Tories. That's it. Until Labour can start to get some policies out to people, then their poll lead at the moment is not so much down to them as down to the Tories. If the Tories had acted with their usual ruthlessness and dropped Johnson, they could pin everything on him, including the shit to come. I mean, they've got no problems blaming Labour for problems that when they've been out of power for 12 years. Piece of piss to blame the previous leader for the next few years. Just as Johnson blamed May and Cameron and asked for votes on the basis that he was somehow leading a different party. The new leader would strike the pose of someone dealing with the mess with great sounding policies that totally work, absolutely. But oh, wait, might take a few years. You'll have to vote for me in the next general election to see your roads paved in gold. Usual stuff, you know. But they didn't. So now what? Now they've just made the public even angrier by sticking by Johnson. Ministers have gone on the telly to talk absolute shite. Tory MPs have been telling their constituents, oh yeah, I absolutely disapprove of this behaviour. But precious few have actually done anything about it. It only takes 54 to put a letter in. What have they been waiting for? The political hack for the Daily Telegraph has said that some MPs have written letters but post-dated them for the day after the local elections. Absolute rubbish. Why would you do that? Apart from the fact the Conservatives are not expected to do particularly badly next month. What is all this? Oh, if they have bad local elections. How can they have bad local elections? They already lost most of the obvious council seats to be lost in 2018. Why post-date such a letter? It takes no time to write it at the point you want to submit it. Dear Sir Graham, I write to formally express my loss of confidence in Boris Johnson's ability to lead the Conservative and shithead party. Yours, Sir Reginald Tosspot. 5 minutes, post-dated letters, my arse. But this was the same hack who expressed his lack of knowledge of parliamentary procedure just last week. So I think I'll take anything he says with a pinch of salt. I've seen others saying that they might be planning to do it in July. How do you plan to do it in July? I mean, it might happen at any time. It might happen after the local elections if they're just looking for an excuse. It might happen in July if that's when the Wakefield election is and George Galloway doesn't win it for the Tories like he tried to in Batley and Spen last year. But Tory MPs can't plan for those. The only future event they can plan for is the Priveleges Committee. Are they so devoid of backbone that they want this group of 6 MPs to make their decision for them? Let the committee find them guilty, recommend a suspension, and then recall petition effectively sacks Johnson as an MP. Is that the plan? It might be. It would certainly take the decision largely out of their hands, but how much more damage will it do to their party to wait for someone else to do their dirty work for them? But it might well be that that's what they're waiting for. Frankly, it's too hard to say now what will finally do it. Like I say, we're in the realm of waiting when there's 359 Tory MPs for 180 of them to make the decision that now is the time to walk the plank. But they're not going to make that decision rationally because the rational decision was to do it in December. Since then, they've further angered the public. They've allowed Labour more time to sort themselves out. They've allowed Keir Starmer to be seen as a competent Prime Minister in waiting. Waiting even longer not only damages themselves further, but gives Labour even more time to get their stuff together. I mean, it's good for Labour supporters or just anti-Tory voters, but you would not imagine that any current Conservative MP would fall into that category, apart from maybe the guy who crossed the floor. Yet the clear majority of Tory MPs are currently acting like they're not that bothered about the Conservatives winning the next general election. 5 months after the North Shropshire watershed moment, the point where it became obvious they needed to get rid of him, they still haven't worked out what to do. There's no planning. It's just burying their head in the sand. But I do know that Jeremy Hunt's supporters have started mobilising him. He was always going to stand, of course. After all, why wouldn't he? He came second last time. Got a decent number of votes from members as well. It's not that he went in and then got trounced in the wider membership vote. Not at all. But he's been keeping quiet as different factions attack each other. You know, now that he's waking from his slumber, it might well be that he thinks that time is coming soon. I think that's probably the best indicator that I can see that Johnson is probably not going to last the summer. Not plotting a trajectory based on rational behaviour, because the Tory MP collective are idiots. Like I say, they've blown their chance to act rationally. But based purely on the fact that Hunt, an experienced and maybe canny operator, is starting to look interested. It's unlikely he will have gone early. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And until next time, I'll see you later.